stopping the EPA's attempts to regulate coal ash resistance. That's an important part of the economic development of Eastern Kentucky. The second thing is to continue our efforts to improve education. Well, that's not really a federal issue, but if you're asking about my vision for Eastern Kentucky, it would be to continue at the state and local level, promoting educational opportunities. And the thing we have to do, today I had a tour of a company called c2010.m2ts, which is employing, somebody in the audience actually smiling, been there before. Employing hundreds of folks here, using the internet, using locals to sell the products of the internet. It's a small business that's now actually a pretty big business by federal government standards. And so promoting small business, tearing down those regulations, helping them with their, as they're getting started. We have some entrepreneurial centers across the region. Let's continue to work on promoting those. These are the kinds of things, small business, pro-coal, and education, that'll help the next 10 years of Eastern Kentucky to be brighter.
Check out my website, www.c2010.m2ts.com. I got a plan on there. Ed, are you back there? President of the college here at Union College? Stand up for a second. Private schools deserve our attention as much as public schools. They do the job of the citizens of the Commonwealth of Kentucky. We've got a great one at Thomas More College. We've got a great one in Center. Look at those private schools also. But jobs is what we're talking about here. Jobs. WPA plan, rail, that's an old railroad which I was, rail systems in the urban areas, the tracks going into the rural areas, to ship coal, to ship goods, and to ship passengers. Energy independence, jobs, a WPA plan where we put people back to work using private enterprise in collaboration with the government. Check out my plan. You will see that it will work, but we must include private enterprise. We need to put our people back to work. That's the only way we will decrease the deficit. That's the only way we will help this country grow.
The first thing we must always remind ourselves is that government doesn't create jobs, private entrepreneurs do. We need to give government less money and leave more money in the private world. I think for Eastern Kentucky, if there are areas of heightened unemployment, we could have special tax-free zones that would help these communities. I agree with Trey that cap and trade is a disaster and will take jobs. Even further than that, the current EPA that is run amok is taking jobs. So we need to restrain the EPA, we need to oppose cap and trade, we need to have some tax-free zones for high unemployment areas, but we have to remember that government doesn't create jobs, private businesses too. We don't need a bigger pool of government money, we need a bigger pool of private money.
I believe that we need to explore more uses for coal. As I said before, if it burns, it'll run an engine. We've got natural gas resources in this Kentucky beauty that we're not using. They drill a natural gas well and then cap it off. We could create jobs by drilling more wells, by increasing our production of coal. We could create less taxes, as I said, on small business, so that they can use that money to expand and create jobs. We need to just get back to basics.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Martin.
What role will coal play in your overall energy plan for our nation? Next question. What is your vision for Eastern Kentucky in the next 10 years, specifically when it comes to job creation? The role of the federal government, again, is few and finite, or finite and few. The role of the states and the people are vain and cover the waterfront. All we need to do is get the big federal government and the parasite politicians off the back of the states, and the states can take care of themselves. I have that. Yeah. coal business in Kentucky. He's doing very well. He could do a lot better if we get the feds off of this bank.
Our final question, and then we will have a closing statement from you all as well. Josh, to Mr. Stephenson.
I think this is probably a pretty good final question because it's a bit open-ended. Above all else, what one issue sets you apart from your opponents?
Healthcare. You see, sitting back there's my wife, Jim Diamond Stephenson. 11 years ago, she came down with what's known as, they said, ulcerative colitis. After years of treating that, they found out after she had surgery that it was Crohn's disease. They took her colon out. I hope she doesn't mind me saying this. She almost died like 3 times on the operating table. 300 and some days in the hospital with me beside her every day holding her hand. I know what it means to be without health insurance where you can't have health insurance with pre-existing conditions. I'm a hired attorney for a little girl that was burned at the age of 5. I know what it is to take care of her problems with health care without pre-existing conditions. You see, I have suffered the ravages of health care. I know what it was to have a sister who fell in the hospital twice where the nurses were not staffed properly. I even filed a complaint. It took them a year and 2 months to answer the complaint. And they said in the complaint that they were wrong. We didn't file a suit. That's not the Baptist way. You know, I'm an old Baptist. Being Baptist won't stop me from sinning, but it'll stop me from enjoying it. But you know something? One thing Baptists do, we do take care of our own. Jesus took care of the people. He healed people. Health care is a human right. It's not a privilege of the rich. It's a human right. Now, did I like the way they passed it? No, I would prefer the Republican way back when we were in power. But we weren't in power. They were. We should have negotiated with them and got the best plan we could have. And we will change it in many ways if I'm elected. But to do away with it? Ridiculous. Ridiculous. People need health care. 32 million of our citizens. That's what differentiates me between me and my citizens. I will not demagogue the issues. I will not demagogue any issue, nor will I attack my opponents.
I've always been a Republican. I went to my first national convention in 1976 when my family supported Ronald Reagan. My father was one of only 4 congressmen who stood up and supported Ronald Reagan against Gerald Ford. I've never been afraid to take a stand. I've never been afraid to go to a Republican gathering and say, you know what, we haven't always done a good job. We haven't always lived up to our principles. I've stood up at picnic and meeting for a whole year and said, you know what, Senator Bunning was right when he voted against the bank bailout, and many Republicans let us down on that. It's not Republican. It's not a belief in limited government that allows you to vote for a bank bailout. And it's something that I'm not afraid to promote. I've said that I won't vote for any budget that's not balanced, Republican or Democrat. I see the issues as whether or not they're right or wrong, but I don't see issues in terms of partisanship. When the Republican Party sticks to its platform, I'll be there. I will always try to help the Republican Party to stay true to its platform, and I will not compromise those principles.
Thank you, sir.
I believe that not giving vague answers to questions. If you've got a question that deserves a yes or no answer, you shouldn't get a maybe or a both. And I will not snipe back and forth about who's saying this and who's saying that up here. You know, that makes me think of the junior high. All these gentlemen up here deserve to be looked at for their merits. I'm not saying I'm better than any one of them, and I'm not saying they're better than me. That's up to you to decide. You need an informed decision when you vote. Hold us all accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Smart.
above all else, what one issue sets you apart from your opponents? Pretty visible.